Everyone sells you Japan as paradise on earth, cutting-edge technology, fascinating culture, polite people, and infinite opportunities. But what if I told you that this perfect image is one of the biggest lies you've ever believed? The truth is that thousands of foreigners arrive in Japan full of romantic expectations, only to discover a reality that nobody has the courage to tell. While influencers show only cherry blossoms and Instagram-worthy dishes, there's a dark side to this experience that can break dreams and destroy anyone's mental health. Curiosities about living in Japan that you've never seen on social media include extreme social isolation, constant psychological pressure, and hidden costs that can drain your savings in a matter of months. If you're planning to move to Japan or are simply curious about what it's really like to live there, prepare to discover truths that go against everything you've ever heard about this country. Many dream of Japanese courtesy, but few understand that this very politeness can become an almost insurmountable barrier for those seeking genuine connections. Japan's social geography is built upon invisible layers of formality that, paradoxically, keep people emotionally distant even when they're physically close. This cultural curiosity goes far beyond what tourists observe on the streets of Tokyo or Osaka. What appears to be mutual respect is actually a complex system that can leave any foreigner feeling like an eternal outsider. The reality is that this excessive courtesy functions as social armor that protects but also isolates. Silence in Japan isn't merely the absence of noise, but a language of its own that carries deep and often uncomfortable meanings for those not born immersed in this culture. In the geographical curiosities of this country, we find cities where millions of people live side by side but rarely truly know each other. The concept of reading the air, kuki wa yomu, requires you to decode nonverbal messages constantly, creating mental tension that can be exhausting. Imagine living in a place where every gesture, every pause, every glance has a specific meaning you need to interpret correctly. It's like playing a game whose rules nobody taught you, but where making mistakes can mean social exclusion. The most brutal consequence of this dynamic is that many foreigners, even after years living in Japan, report a persistent feeling of always being on the outside looking in. Curiosities about Japanese social behavior reveal that even expressing personal opinions can be seen as a protocol breach. While the outside world admires Japanese social harmony, those who live this reality daily know that this harmony comes at a price: personal authenticity. The system works perfectly to maintain order, but can suffocate those who need more direct and spontaneous human connections. This is just the first layer of a much more complex reality that few dare to discuss openly. Japan's corporate geography hides one of modern life's most disturbing realities: a work system that can literally kill. The term karoshi, death from overwork, isn't just a linguistic curiosity, but a silent epidemic affecting thousands of people annually. While the world admires Japanese productivity, few know the stories of employees who sleep only 3 hours per night, work consecutive weekends, and consider vacations an almost unreachable luxury. The pressure to demonstrate dedication goes far beyond overtime. It's a culture where leaving the office before your boss can be interpreted as lack of commitment. This dynamic creates a vicious cycle where exhaustion becomes a symbol of professional status. Curiosities about the Japanese corporate environment reveal practices that would shock workers from other cultures: meetings that extend until late hours without clear purpose, the obligation to participate in company social events even after work hours, and the expectation that you're always available. The concept of work-life balance simply doesn't exist in the country's traditional professional geography. Imagine working in a place where taking sick leave can hurt your promotion chances, or where questioning your superior's authority can result in complete ostracism. The reality is that many foreigners who get jobs in Japan quickly discover that the attractive salary comes with an emotional and physical toll that can be devastating. What's most frightening is how this system perpetuates itself through Japan's very social structure. Geographical curiosities show that different regions of the country have variations of this culture, but the basic pattern remains: work above everything, always. Employees reach the point of pretending to be busy even when they have no tasks, simply to avoid appearing lazy. Social pressure is so intense that many develop mental health problems but rarely seek help for fear of stigma. This reality of the Japanese corporate world is like an iceberg. What you see on the surface is just a small fraction of a much deeper and more systematic problem. Japan's economic geography is filled with hidden costs that can transform an apparently generous salary into a constant source of financial stress. Curiosities about the Japanese pricing system go far beyond what you see on price tags. There are fees for practically everything, from garbage disposal to apartment maintenance, that can consume a significant portion of your monthly income. Imagine discovering you need to pay a gratitude fee to the real estate agent equivalent to 2 months' rent, or that the simple act of moving can cost the equivalent of 4 months' salary between deposits, guarantees, and administrative fees. The reality is that many foreigners arrive in Japan with financial expectations based only on gross salary, without understanding that the real cost of living can be 40% to 60% higher than they imagined. Geographical curiosities reveal that different regions have specific financial traps. While Tokyo drains your wallet with astronomical rents and expensive transportation, smaller cities can surprise you with lack of cheap options and the necessity of owning a car. The healthcare system, although efficient, charges copayments that accumulate quickly, especially if you need specialized treatments or imported medications. Consider also that many basic products cost double or triple the price found in other developed countries. A simple trip to the supermarket can result in expenses that would make anyone rethink their consumption habits. The culture of omotenashi, hospitality, often masks premium prices justified by service quality, but which can be financially suffocating. What catches unprepared residents most off guard are the mandatory seasonal and cultural costs that are part of Japanese social life. Curiosities about annual expenses include obligatory gifts for colleagues, osaibo and ichujin, participation in company year-end parties, bonenkai, that can cost hundreds of dollars, and social pressure to give gifts on specific occasions like weddings and funerals. The country's financial geography also includes municipal taxes that vary drastically between regions, creating unpleasant surprises in annual declarations. Many discover too late that saving money in Japan requires not only discipline but also deep knowledge of a system that seems designed to extract value from every aspect of daily life. Japan's social geography is governed by a hierarchical system so complex and inflexible that it can make anyone feel like they're walking through an emotional minefield. Curiosities about the senpai-kohai, senior-junior, system go far beyond school or corporate environments. This dynamic permeates every aspect of Japanese life, from how you address neighbors to the order in which you enter an elevator. Imagine living in a society where your age, time at company, university you attended, and even the year you graduated automatically determine your position in the social hierarchy. The reality is that this structure, while offering predictability, can be extremely oppressive for those who didn't grow up understanding its nuances. Every conversation becomes an exercise in social navigation where a slip in honorific language can result in public embarrassment. Geographical curiosities show that different regions of Japan have subtle variations of these rules, but the essence remains unchangeable. There's always someone above and someone below you on the social scale. The concept of reading the situation requires you to instantly identify your place in any group's hierarchy, adjusting your behavior, language, and even your body posture accordingly. For a foreigner, this means you can inadvertently offend someone simply by not knowing that person's professional or academic history. The pressure for conformity is so intense that many report feeling as if their individual personality is being gradually suffocated. It's like living in a theatrical play where you don't know your role, but everyone expects you to perform perfectly. The most frustrating aspect of this hierarchy is that it's rarely explained explicitly. You must absorb it through observation and, inevitably, through embarrassing mistakes. Curiosities about Japanese social behavior reveal that questioning this established order is seen as a fundamental character flaw, not as a legitimate cultural difference. Many foreigners discover that even after years of adaptation, certain positions in the social hierarchy remain inaccessible simply because they're not Japanese. The geography of social relationships creates invisible bubbles that determine who you can talk to, how you should speak, and what you can talk about. This social rigidity can be suffocating for people accustomed to more egalitarian societies, creating constant tension between personal authenticity and social acceptance. The emotional geography of large Japanese cities reveals a cruel paradox, being surrounded by millions of people and still feeling deeply isolated. Curiosities about urban life in Japan show that population density doesn't translate to human proximity. On the contrary, the more people around you, the greater the feeling of social invisibility can be. Imagine living in Tokyo, where you can spend entire weeks interacting only superficially with other people, limiting yourself to polite greetings and basic commercial transactions. The reality is that Japanese culture, while promoting collective harmony, can inadvertently create barriers to intimate and authentic connections. Many foreign residents report that making a true friend in Japan can take years, and even then, these friendships often remain within culturally defined boundaries. Geographical curiosities about socialization patterns reveal dramatic differences between Western expectations and Japanese reality. The concept of han, true feelings, versus taitmei, public facade, means that even when you think you're connecting with someone, you might be interacting only with a socially acceptable version of that person. Romantic relationships face unique challenges. Dating in Japan follows rigid protocols that can seem artificial to foreigners accustomed to spontaneity. Many discover that expressing affection publicly or even sharing personal vulnerabilities can be seen as inappropriate or embarrassing. The pressure to maintain appearances can transform even intimate relationships into carefully choreographed performances. Isolation intensifies when you realize that many Japanese social interactions are structured around specific contexts, work colleagues, neighbors, hobby acquaintances, but rarely develop beyond these predefined categories. Curiosities about social behavior show that home invitations are rare and precious, as the home is considered an extremely private space. The geography of personal relationships in Japan operates in layers of intimacy so stratified that many foreigners never manage to penetrate beyond the superficial layers. This reality can be devastating for people who value deep human connections as a source of emotional well-being. The irony is that in a society obsessed with harmony and mutual consideration, finding someone with whom you can truly be yourself can become one of the most challenging and lonely experiences of your life. Now you know the raw truth about living in Japan, a reality that few have the courage to share because it goes against the romantic narrative everyone wants to believe. But here's the most important question: what are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you continue living in fantasy, or will you use this information to make smarter decisions about your future? If you're considering moving to Japan, are you prepared to face social isolation, extreme psychological pressure, and hidden costs that can transform your dream into a nightmare? And if you already live there, when was the last time you stopped to honestly evaluate whether this life is really worth it? The geography of your own happiness is more important than any cultural curiosity, so tell me, are you living the life you really want, or just surviving in one that looks impressive on Instagram? It's time to stop accepting what everyone tells you and start questioning whether the sacrifices you're making are really worth it. If this video opened your eyes to realities you'd never considered, hit that like button so more people can access these truths, share it with someone who needs to know this, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because we're going to continue tearing down myths and revealing truths that can completely change your perspective on the world.